This is Joe Elkins, owner of BC Cab, Better Checker Taxi Cab and Livery Service LLC. It is Thursday, January 28th, 2010 at 12:53 p.m. I am about to enter a meeting with Cheyenne Cab Company owners and Interim Police Chief Jeff Schultz regarding a draft ordinance for public transportation in Cheyenne. Hi, I'm here for the meeting with Chief Schultz.
Okay, I'm going to go here, there's a office in, and then make a left.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah. Narrow stairwell. What? I don't see many stairways that narrow. Hi there.
Hi.
I'm here for the meeting with Chief Schultz.
Straight back to the left.
Thank you.
So I was going to ask him. Surgery next week. We paid about it. She's self-defense. She told me she had surgery. Look how fast she recovered.
Hi, Jeff Schultz.
Okay.
That's the same, you know.
Sheriff Schultz?
Jeff Schultz.
Jeff Schultz, okay. I know some of the officers are deputized too, so.
No.
I'm Mike.
I'm
Joe.
Nice to meet
Yeah, I'm
you.
Joe.
This is my wife, Teresa.
Well, I don't know, if anybody else here show up, and they can catch up, I guess we get going here. I don't know if you're all aware of some of the backstory, but I think this was driven somewhat by you all to kind of, make sure there was a level playing field and everybody was following the rules. So between myself, and the city clerk, the city attorney, and the mayor, this is what we came up with. So I would say probably the easiest way to do this is you can tell me what's wrong with it, and then we will work from there. How's that sound?
Okay, sounds good.
So maybe we'll just go around and
It's gonna take a long time. Somebody else wants to go first. There's a lot wrong with it.
okay?
There is.
Let's start at the
Well,
beginning. Looks like you're
Start at the first page. Section 010D. It lists regardless whether a permittee, referring to drivers, is self-employed. Okay.
Anyway,
Last line.
I've got the line.
Sure.
Well, actually, it's not the last line, I might not.
On D.
What's wrong with that?
Well, it says a licensee will take care of the vehicles, etc., and that goes right along with Section G. A licensee shall comply with the provisions of this chapter regardless of whether a licensee leases or rents public transportation conveyances to the drivers, as you guys do, right? You rent your cars to the driver, Sam?
Yep.
On a nightly basis, right, or a shift basis?
Yep.
And Ivor, you guys rent your cars to the driver on a shift basis?
Something like that. I have several ways of doing it. I was driver's fix.
Okay. The problem with that is, let me look up here a little bit. Sorry, the sticky notes overlap, so. Okay. If the driver leases or rents the public transportation conveyance for the driver, regardless of whether the permittee is self-employed or the driver is self-employed. Title 31, Chapter 1, Article 1, under definitions, except as otherwise provided in this Act, legal owner means all persons in whose name a valid certificate of title has been issued. Okay?
Okay.
Title 31, 31.7.102, definitions, Wyoming Code. Roman numeral 17. Employee means any operator of a commercial motor vehicle, including full-time, regularly employed drivers, casual, intermittent, or occasional drivers, leased drivers, and independent owner-operator contractors who are either directly employed or by or under lease to the employer. That's not the one I wanted to go for. Self-employed subcontractors.
Can I say something? Not being rude or taking this time away. Did we just cover the aspects of, I mean, those are terms you guys are using. You know what I mean by that? To me, I just have problems that are within this thing. I'm not going to sit back and...
You've got problems with the substance rather than, I think, Joe, you're finding definition problems?
I'm finding substance and definition problems. I have a point that I'm leading up to with this, if I could continue on it, or if I could just wait to the end, either or. Employees contract, Section 27.1.105, employees contract leasing employer from releasing employer from personal injury liability. It shall be unlawful for any person, company, or corporation to require of its servants or employees as a condition of their employment or otherwise any contract or agreement whereby such person, company, corporation shall be released or discharged from liability or responsibility on account of personal injuries received by such servants or employees while in the service of such company or corporation. By reason of the negligence of such person, company, or corporation, or the agents or employees thereof, and such contracts shall be absolutely null and void. Self-employed or self-contract. Section 27.3.108 of Wyoming Code. Employment under this act does not include services performed by an individual, Roman numeral 10, by an individual who is the owner-operator of a motor vehicle which is leased or contracted with driver to a for-hire, common, or contract carrier. What this is leading up to is, in the state of Wyoming, in order to be a subcontract cab driver, the driver must own the vehicle, own the insurance, the commercial insurance policy on the vehicle, have operating authority for that vehicle under that insurance policy in their name, and operate as, promote themselves to the public as an independent business, which would mean that in order to be a subcontractor, they would have to be a licensee, not a permittee. If they're a permittee and running as a subcontractor, they're in direct violation of state labor laws. Another one is, these guys have both said that they rent their vehicles to the drivers.
Joe, the last two things you read were, I think, workers' compensation statutes.
Yes, they were. But
It doesn't apply to motor vehicles.
According to from what I've heard from Workman's Comp and Unemployment, it does their employees. The only way they can be not employees is if they own their own vehicle. That's Rietta Reese from the DOT.
What does that have to do with this?
They're running their drivers as subcontract. That's how they run their fares so cheap.
We're not paying Workman's Comp. Yeah.
Okay, and they rent their vehicles to the drivers.
Joe, we're not here to, let me kind of nip this in the bud. We're not here for you to point out what they're doing wrong.
I am pointing out what's wrong with the ordinance, sir. I'm pointing out what is wrong with the ordinance. Okay? Right here, a licensee shall comply with provisions of this chapter regardless of whether the leasee leases or rents public transportation conveyances to the drivers. Title 19 of...
Joe, I'll tell you, I think the city attorney disagrees with it.
Okay.
He wrote this.
Can you hang on just a second? Chapter 19, rental car vehicle agencies. Okay? Would you like me to read it, or would you like to just go over the highlighted sections of this real quick? You can probably read faster.
We're getting back to the point of, we're not worried about you thinking they're doing something wrong. If the statute or the ordinance is in error, then I'll be happy to run that by the city attorney. He may agree or may disagree.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, is that it is not legal for them to rent their vehicles to their drivers under Chapter 19, the Rental Vehicle Code. Okay. It says, defines rental vehicle is defined under Statute 19.
I think I gotta go back to my point is, if you don't feel the ordinance follows state statute, then I'll forward that to the city attorney and he can give a ruling.
That's what I'm saying.
But I don't need you to read that to me.
Okay, okay, this section G, under Title 19, no rental vehicle agency, employee thereof, or other person required to be licensed under this chapter may rent or offer for rent vehicles unless person holds a valid vehicle rental agency certificate.
They're not renting the vehicle, they're allowing them to use their vehicle. So I'll forward that to the city attorney.
I really went round and round with unemployment workers comp, that's why I'm just saying it. You know what I mean, I've already had meetings with them.
If they're it says right here they're renting the vehicle, okay? They both said they rent the vehicle. I have a driver that worked for one of the other companies who was charged a nightly lease on the vehicle, collected by the shift, which under this code...
Joe, we're getting back to the same point. I'll let the city attorney look at it.
Okay.
I'm not going to make the decision. I'm not an attorney. You're not an attorney. So I'll let the attorney figure that out. Does that seem fair?
Okay.
Because you don't have a law degree, am I correct?
No, I don't.
Okay, so why don't I let the guys with the law degrees look at it, and if they feel that they're violating state statute by putting this in there, then they can take it out.
They're violating a lot of state statutes. I'm
Well,
putting stuff in here.
you
That's
think
why
they're
I asked
violating
if I
state
could. That's
statutes,
why
so.
I asked if I could go last.
I'm not saying, I'm not wanting you to stop. I'm saying, if you think it violates state statute, show me the section, and I'll send it to the attorney.
Okay.
But I'm not going to decide today.
Okay. Here's the section. I gotta find that.
No, the section in the ordinance.
The section of Chapter 19.
Okay, I've written it down.
Okay, and
We're there.
okay.
So what's the next one?
The next one. The commercial general liability insurance coverage.
What page is that on?
It is page 4, 5.72.040A. It's requiring us to have $300 per occurrence insurance, which my insurance agent said she couldn't get a quote for, or $3 million, which she couldn't get a quote for. The quote she came back with was for the standard liability insurance, commercial general liability insurance, which is a $2 million aggregate, not with a $1 million per occurrence. And that insurance is, from what I understand of the coverage, primarily aimed at companies that run subcontract or independent contract labor, which under Section 19, under state labor laws and DOT code, they can't be running subcontract drivers. In order to be a subcontractor, you have to own the vehicle, own the insurance. That insurance coverage is $2,700 a year, I think, $2,800 a year, and it's an insurance coverage that's not necessary if the companies are following the state law as it's prescribed. What we do need, what Jackson Hole lists for coverage requirements, what Casper lists for coverage requirements, and what the state of Wyoming lists for coverage requirements, is $500,000 of commercial auto liability insurance.
Okay.
On the companies.
That's their minimum.
That's the minimum, yes.
And we can ask for more, you understand?
Yeah, well, this is a different type of coverage. This isn't asking for commercial auto liability insurance. It's calling for commercial liability insurance, general liability insurance, which, like somebody that builds houses, or yes. And our place of business is in vehicles on the road. Our auto liability insurance covers us for that. Basically, for my company, what this policy is saying, it's telling me I have to have $3 million worth of coverage in case somebody gets hurt due to my negligence in my 10-foot by 10-foot office.
Okay?
Verification that the driver applicant holds a commercial driver's license.
That's good or bad?
Bad.
Where's that at?
Page 5, section B4.
The photograph section?
Oh, it's over here.
It says that you have to have a current commercial driver's license issued by the state of Oregon, state of Wyoming, together with endorsements to authorize transportation of passengers for hire, if the
Yeah.
applicant is not required by law to have a commercial driver's license.
In another state. In 572.050A on the page before, bottom of the page before, it says, no person shall operate a public transportation conveyance unless they have obtained a commercial driver's license with endorsement P issued by the Wyoming Department of Transportation pursuant to Title 31 of Wyoming statutes. Title 31 of Wyoming statutes commercial driver's license is required for hire transportations. Oh no, that's hours of service. It's not as organized as I wish they'd have been. CDL endorsements. 317304. A commercial driver's license classification AP endorsement authorizes the operator to operate the driver to operate a bus or any motor vehicle defined by Wyoming Statute 37102 used for the transportation of passengers, providing he's over 18. 37102.
To kind of sum it up, it's 18 or less passengers.
16.
16 or less passengers for a CDL.
16 or more passengers for a CDL.
Or, yeah. So,
102.
So you're saying you don't need a CDL for this?
No.
No, you shouldn't.
Unless you're traveling basically the bus.
exactly.
Well, no, even a bus. Well, under Wyoming statutes, a bus is defined in two different ways. A bus can be, for a shuttle service, is 10 passengers and above. That requires DOT registration of the vehicle. 8 passengers and above does. But a bus by Wyoming, by 317102, is 16 or more passengers, including the driver.
All right, so bottom line is you're saying,
Unless
you lost me.
unless it's a
which
bus,
section it was, you don't need a driver or a CDL.
no.
All right, show me where that section is again, 'cause
572050A.
Public transportation driver's permit. Who issues a public transportation driver's permit?
The DOT, actually the Wyoming Driver Services.
But that's different than your CDL.
Correct. The only CDL you need is if you're carrying, basically if you're carrying a mass amount of passengers, your vehicle's equipped to carry that many passengers.
Yeah,
So-
16 or more. And you can't get a CDL without a vehicle to test in for that. So any of us that don't have a Greyhound bus
Yeah, I got you.
can't even.
I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out what we have to remove so that follows state statute. You have to have a commercial driver's license to get a public transport
No,
driver's permit.
no.
So then we go back to, so we're good to, a person shall be eligible to receive public transport driver's permit if he is 18, but we don't need, has obtained a commercial driver's license, because you don't need one
No, but
to
he
receive it.
no. But he has to have a valid driver's license.
Well, yeah, I'm with you, but we're, commercial driver's license is the issue, right?
Yes. Yes.
And 18 is irrelevant because insurance requires, I think it's 21 to 23.
All right.
mine wants 24 without a surcharge, so.
Has obtained, so were we to remove, has obtained a commercial driver's license with endorsement P, all the way up to has completed an application form, then we're good in that section, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, as long as you put back in that they have to have a valid driver's license.
And I'm in agreement with Joe about that insurance. I can understand $1 million insurance, but that umbrella insurance, there will be no cab companies out here the way they're doing that.
Okay?
Well, and
Well,
state law
that's why we're
and...
jumping a little too much, because I'm working on two different items right now. So let me finish this one,
Okay.
and then we'll move on. All right, so, on the section we're working on, 57250, I've removed, has obtained a commercial driver's license with endorsement P issued by the Wyoming Department of Transportation pursuant to Title 31 of the Wyoming statutes, and inserted, has a valid Wyoming driver's license.
Does it have to be Wyoming, or can it be out of state?
We have 30 days to...
CDL license, and I can keep my CDL license as long as I want.
Yeah, same with me, and, if
Has
we
a
hire
valid
somebody
driver's
that's like...
license as required by state statute.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because we have family that comes up and helps, and it's hard for them to have to change their driver's license over.
I'm with you.
And then you got students in military that don't have to.
If you ain't got a CDL, you gotta change it.
Yeah.
If they ain't got a CDL license,
But
they got...
you have a time period, and
30
believe
days.
me, it's been a long time since I wrote that ticket. So.
Yeah, but if they live in Colorado, and they work in Colorado primarily, and they're only doing part-time work in Wyoming, you don't have to get a Wyoming driver's license.
Well, I think we've taken care of it with has a valid CDL required by
Well,
state statute.
and then
That's cool.
the next page 4, is the one that goes along with it, or line 4.
Verification,
Ours are a little bit different than ours.
had to worry about that. Verification.
Okay, really easy one. It says that the pictures have to be not less than 2 inches by 2 inches in size.
Yeah.
Doesn't say how big they can't be. I'm sure you don't want 11 by 15 portraits brought in, but...
You're that proud of your face?
Well, no,
That's great.
I'm just saying, if somebody was to bring in a 5 by 7 picture or something, then it's gonna mess with your IDs. It really should clarify what size they, not a minimum or a maximum, just what size the picture should be.
To put them on the ID, they're gonna have to...
Be small.
Does it, they would be able to reduce them,
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
The Kinko's
I
are
hadn't
just
thought that.
passport ID.
just the passport.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is passport ID.
Yeah.
The city clerk was good with that, so
Okay.
she'll have to deal with it.
I hadn't thought about reducing the pictures.
You can reduce it.
Prohibited conduct of permittees. Engage in any verbal arguments, confrontation, or acts of violence with passengers, members of the public, or other licensees under the provisions of this chapter. It just needs a thing in there with to accept in the case of self-defense. You know, technically the way that's written, if somebody attacks one of us and we put them in their place before calling the police, we've just committed a crime. It doesn't happen very often, but cab drivers do get assaulted from time to time.
Yeah.
And
How about, what if I removed engage and then place put provoke?
perfect, yeah.
That works perfect.
That works perfect.
Okay?
Okay. Down the row on number 7, use of public transportation conveyance to carry or deliver alcohol or malt beverages which are not in the ownership and possession of a passenger. It should read a customer or a paying passenger. In the past, there have been companies that would go and pick up alcohol and deliver it to their customers.
Right?
And, all they got to do for that, they charge $20, $30 to deliver alcohol. all they gotta do to circumvent that is have a non-driver passenger of the company, employee of the company riding along.
That becomes a headache to do that.
Oh, yeah, it just takes one word, you know, change passenger to customer.
I'm in disagreement to that. I use my personal vehicle, my kids use my personal vehicle, but I feel if I wanna go to a liquor store and get a six-pack, I feel that I should be able to do that.
Joe, I don't think I have a big issue with this. I mean, the idea is very clear. You can't use your taxi to go run liquor runs.
Exactly.
If there's somebody in your car and he says, no, I'm the passenger, I'm not gonna put a cop
Okay.
in that position.
Okay,
This is, you
okay.
can't go make a beer run for somebody.
Okay. Operate a public transportation conveyance for more than 12 hours in any 24-hour period. State law allows us 14 if we have a commercial driver's license.
Or, you know,
And
title of-
and actually, we're not required to have the commercial driver's license, so I don't see why we should have a limit on the hours of service.
It's the same reason
I-
you do when you have a commercial driver's license.
Well,
Safety of the public.
I understand that.
I would agree with it as well.
I would rather see it, it says in here you can't be sick. I think this should read where an operator cannot operate the public transportation conveyance when he is impaired by tiredness.
That could mean six
Because
hours.
as I read,
That's not the way commercial driver's license, they're very specific in hours, and that's why we have hours, rather than...
the reason I object to that, and Ivory will probably agree with me, you use your shuttle to drive personal hours, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I use my cab to drive personal hours. I drive home in my cab, I sleep, I come back to work in my cab. I don't have it today because I needed it on the road, but I generally have it with me to do any business with the company outside of hauling passengers. And if with this,
So I don't
then...
think no cop's gonna sit back and just watch. Most of the cops are pretty cool with TV, are they?
Yeah, but I don't want to have an ordinance in place that I have to say, oh, I hope that nobody wants to enforce this law.
Well,
That's wrong.
Where we've got the daily log sheet. Correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's in there somewhere.
And that gives you all the information that if an officer stopped you, you would have, this is when I started, this is when I stopped. So we have that. in there.
I have a beginning time and an ending time. I might take 3 or 4 runs at 9 in the morning. I might not take another run all day until bar close.
Did you, I agree with you, but they should change that part there, exempting owners or managers. And I think maybe managers, when we start paperwork into you, should be put on there.
But you're not operating it for more than 12 hours, Joe. You're operating it in the morning and you're operating it in the evening.
But if
That's straight.
but if I drive around all day going to meetings with the chief or my bank, I am operating it anytime during
Not
that
as a
day.
public transportation conveyance, you're just
Well,
driving a car.
It's marked as a cab. It is a cab. It's a cab all the time.
You're not
Technically
operating
speaking,
it as a cab.
if
I think you're diving into a different definition. You're driving around in a car rather than you're working as a taxi cab generating
Not for
fare.
hire. It's not for hire.
it is for hire. I am on call. I'm on call from the time I come into work at 9 in the morning until I leave work at 3 in the morning. 7 days
I
a
kind of
week.
agree with Joe. I think to make Joe happy, and even myself, I think under the driver's log, I think if we're picking up passengers, yeah, I think we do driver's logs. But as far as I think the owner should be exempt to that. I think they should keep a log, but as far as wherever that is in there that we must keep logs, I mean, there's times.
I also tend to run days together. I'll start a shift on a driver's log, and if I only take 6 or 8 runs through that day, I continue on the next day on the same driver's log until I feed the sheet up. I can change this.
Wait, where's that one at?
Well, that's
You
in
emphasize
here.
the month, the day of the year, and the day of the week.
Yeah,
That
that's
means you need a different log for each day.
yeah. I'm just saying what I do right now.
Okay, what they're saying is that they're talking about a calendar day, and what we normally work is not necessarily a calendar day.
Right, that I understand.
A 24-hour period would be, or a calendar, you know, so your one day may start at noon and end at noon the next day, you know.
Right, I get that, but
You
I
also
think
run-
combined, if you're not taking fares, you're not driving as a commercial conveyance.
So you see what he, basically, I kind of understand what you're saying. I mean, I don't think the cops are going to just be out hunting, oh, we've seen the Suburban, we've seen this car, I don't think.
Actually, I don't think the cops are gonna enforce anything anyway. They don't enforce anything now.
Oh, they've enforced some things with me, buddy.
So the idea behind the 12-hour time period, like everything else, is we have a duty to make sure the public is safe. And if you pull an 18-hour shift, you're not safe. You're not keeping the public safe.
Okay, I've been pulling 18 to 20-hour shifts 7 days a week with rare exception for 3 years, and I haven't had a wreck or a ticket. I'm safe. Not every driver is safe.
You may think you don't have to
But-
survive like most people with sleep, but
Well, no, I get sleep. I get sleep.
then you're
I
not
have
running an 18, 20-hour day.
But according to my log sheet, I am.
A sleepy driver is worse than a drunk
I
driver.
have a bed set up in my office.
Then you're not
Just in case.
driving, Joe.
But my trip sheet says that I am. It doesn't have unless we run with DOT trip sheets, it doesn't have a
What the
place
truck
to
driver
log.
does is put yourself down as downtime. It's like, I mean, I don't see where it's saying that it has to be a whole calendar. You know what I mean? When you do your trip sheet, then put in that spot there, 6:15, slept, and then came back on shift at 10:45.
Well, I guess we could do that.
Yeah, I don't think the
we
company's
could do
gonna
that. Put
harass
breaks
you,
in it for.
Yeah.
And
That's been my point with this
okay.
is, you get,
Okay.
we're back to 24 hours,
okay.
because it
I'll-
specifically says 24-hour period.
okay.
So, let's say you start at 9, then that 24-hour period runs to the next
Until
9.
9. Okay.
And if you're not running a cab for hire or driving, then
If we
you're
can-
not using your 12 hours.
If we can log break times, I'm all right with that, except for, there should be an exception for inclement weather conditions, just like there are for truck drivers, or bus drivers over the highway, CDL required bus drivers. If we send a vehicle to Denver and the snow moves in and it slows his progress down to 30 miles an hour coming back, and it takes him over his shift, there should be an exception listed so that they can get back to a safe place to put their vehicle.
Then he's going to tell you that they're still pushing them being tired, and it turned into an issue of them being unsafe.
Well,
I agree with the ordinance. I don't know
But
about you
in
guys.
state law, it lists that they can go up to 2 hours over their shift for the safety of the vehicle themselves and their passengers, if inclement weather sets in. Because you can't just, oh, my shift's up, here I am at the Buford exit, I can't drive any further.
Yellow cab out of Denver, they put one out there in Cheyenne, the other day, he's got hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's in Cheyenne. Suppose you run out of hours in
He was
the...
But the state patrol's not going to hurt. I mean, if you have to go 10 more miles to get to a safe environment,
They're not
I'm-
gonna harass.
no.
I'm not after what's going to be enforced and what's not going to be enforced. I'm after the way it's written so that it allows for these situations.
I see what you're saying.
And in the state ordinance, it allows for that under hours of service.
Tell me where that is, so I can look it up.
Give me a second. Under hours of service.
I don't have any problem making things reasonable.
Hours of service. That's not it.
If you get the driver gets in an accident, driver can turn around and sue you because you make them continue on to the next place.
I don't have that exception in here. What I have is what Wyoming lists for hours of service regulations under 3118.303. Intrastate for-hire transportation of passengers and vehicles with an occupant capacity of 7 or more, but not more than 15, are subject to the hours of service requirements.
You don't have
That just says the state of Wyoming doesn't require hours of service requirements for passenger vehicles under 7 passengers. which is where they cut the line to make it a commercial vehicle or a non-commercial vehicle.
The exception is federal motor carrier safety.
Oh, I did have the exception in there.
Well, it says
And it's
subject to
forward.
the exceptions of 395.1, we've got 395.5.
And it's just a safety thing. It's the exception that you're not technically breaking the law by coming in from Buford when you've been over your shift for 10 minutes.
Joe, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just gonna have to figure out wording for it.
Page 8, number 3. Under the daily trip sheet requirements,
Okay,
they have to list the number of passengers.
right?
What if the company doesn't charge by the passenger? We don't keep,
You
okay.
still have to
Okay,
keep track.
and it says the distance and the route taken, the fare measured by distance, and the duration of the trip, and the fare measured by time. Those are internally recorded or registered by our meters with no way of separating it. The meters are calibrated to accuracy, the odometers are not necessarily. If we took it off the tripometer or the odometer, it's not going to give an accurate reading, which would be a violation. And we can't separate it out of the meter if there's time and mileage involved at the same on the same trip.
So you've got a typical meter that charges X amount per portion of a mile plus X amount for time period.
Yes.
Joe, you shouldn't have brought this up, because now I'm gonna have to add one for you, because you
Okay.
wouldn't have applied. Because
Okay.
you don't measure, you don't do it by distance, you don't do it by time, you do it by pole.
No, we do it by either or. We don't run time while we're running distance. We run distance, we offer 5 minutes of wait time for free, and then while we're sitting waiting, like at Walgreens or Walmart, etc., after they've used their 5 minutes of free time, which is actually, it's 5 minutes plus the round of the next minute, because we use digital clocks. So we go 5 minutes from the next minute, then we start time charges.
So how do I keep track of where you've been?
On the trip sheet. We log every pickup address and every destination address. If there's multiple stops, we'll either write with stops or with mission. If they have one extra stop, we'll say point A to point B with Walgreens. But if they're going to the bank and then Walgreens and then DT's and then we're going to stop over at Safeway's Cole and then we're going to go over to their buddy's house and then we're going to go back to their house again. Our trip sheets don't allow, it would be a serious waste of paper for us to log all of that. We write with stops or with mission. If the customer wants an itemized receipt, then we'll list everything on the receipt and itemize it down.
How do you itemize it down if you can't keep track of flow?
Okay, we write down all the different stops that are made. If they're going, we don't itemize the different charges. I should have brought an example of our receipt and our trip sheet. Say we pick somebody up at 12th and Converse. We take them up, like I said, we take them to the bank right there. We take them across the street to Walgreens. Then we take them over to DT's. Then we take them over to Cole Square. Then we stop at their buddy's house on Fremont and we go back to 12th and Converse.
Right.
Okay? They're charged the entire distance fee for the drive distance between each of those places. Then they're charged the time charge after their 5 minutes for free at any of the places where the vehicle is stopped, not in traffic. We don't. It's not like Denver. We don't charge traffic time. But say he uses 2 minutes at the bank and he uses 3.5 minutes over at Walgreens, so his 5 minutes is up. Then his 3 minutes at DT's is going to be charged at 50 cents a minute on the meter. His 8 minutes, 10 minutes at Safeway's will be charged. His 2 minutes inside his buddy's house will be charged. But while we're going down the road, the time off is set, so that time doesn't run at stoplights and stop signs, etc.
Right, so if I have an itemized bill, what is the bill going to say?
It's going to say pickup at 12th and Converse, destination bank / Walgreens / DT's / Fremont Avenue / return.
Okay.
And the fare will be what the meter reads for the fare in the metered fare box.
Right.
Then any gratuity if they gave a gratuity on the gratuity line, and then the total.
Well, how are you charging for the time?
The meter's charging for the time. It's wait
So the
time.
meter, you hit stop because I'm at the liquor store.
No,
or
not
start.
stop. You hit time on.
Time on, okay. So then you hit time off and we're driving, then
Yep.
stop again and hit time on.
Yeah.
Is there anything besides that meter that's keeping track of the amount of wait time?
No.
So if I put in the distance of the route by odometer,
The odometer might not necessarily match to the meter.
well, Joe, they're not gonna be inspecting whether you went 15.247 miles. If your odometer says 15 miles, that's what they look at.
Okay.
Is this reading here, is this for the public safety, to make sure the cab companies aren't ripping off the public? Or is this set in place to know if there's a crime committed, we need your driver's
Both.
law?
Both.
For both.
Yes.
I personally think you should just set a cap, like most bigger cities have a cap where you can't charge over a certain amount, which takes care of that, whatever you think is fair.
But that doesn't give me the other side of it is, I picked up a driver or passenger and dropped him off here.
Okay.
And if you put a cap on it, then if somebody's tying up one of my cabs to go from Safeway on South Greeley to the Quest Building on Yellowstone, over to Albertsons on Pershing, and then out to Base, and then back down to South Greeley Highway.
No, but big cities, what they do, they put a cap on what you can charge per mile, what I mean with that. That's not a cap on, it's not a
Yeah,
cap.
but I don't,
I haven't found that in any
I don't want to
ordinances.
get anywhere close to me telling you how to run your business.
No, I agree, because I got these laws and rules, and but
I don't want to
the
say
pay,
you can charge 12 cents a mile or 100 cents a mile, that's none of my business.
I'm just trying to cut back on as much paperwork as possible,
Which
I'm
is
with you.
what I'm trying to do too.
and then 2 years of paperwork.
The only way we could keep track of this would be to take all of the numbers from the meter in between every fare.
Right, and I understand that's not practical, so I'm
That's not-
trying to find
yeah.
out a way that is practical.
Yeah.
But I think if you put in distance of the route by odometer, that takes care of your problem as far as how far you went.
I'm sorry, I was reading.
Yes,
You put in by odometer,
Yeah, we do that all the time, I just want to affect that.
you put in mileage right now?
Like
Yeah.
on the trip sheet, they'll say we started at 039 and our trip ended at 043.
You
This
guys-
was this amount of miles, and we picked up our fare at this time, we dropped them off at this time.
That system works really good. I mean, we had an incident with the police department, and we went back on time, and that's how we found out exactly what, I'm pretty sure you heard about it.
And we keep track of all of that information in the office. When the driver picks up, we have it logged down on the dispatch log. When the driver drops off, we have it logged down on the dispatch log.
I mean, it's a lot of paper, I mean,
But it's worth it if
yeah,
something happens.
no, I agree, so Ryan told me.
What about beginning and ending mileage and beginning and ending times?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's perfect.
yeah, we do that,
We'll have to redesign all our trip sheets, but I've had companies that did that. I've worked for them in the
I
past.
think it helps out, it helps the drivers from doing BS out there, man. I think it's important. I mean, it helps us out, and show your driver the law, they can't argue with you about it then.
So, the official starting and ending odometer reading,
Yeah.
And then time,
And we should like the last three of the helmet, or maybe.
not the whole thing, yeah, cause their beginning trip sheet would say we started at 153 Boulder.
right.
So you just do the last three, cause that's what you need to keep track of.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
not gonna go over a
but if you
miles.
started, if we do the same thing with PD when we transport people. If you start your trip sheet with my odometer is 105, 256, and everything else after that is 259 to 315.
Unless you go over to
Right.
the next 1,000,
And then you don't have to change it every time.
no.
Yeah.
You just write in the last three or whatever you're comfortable with without a
Then what
change.
you're ending at, your end of your shift, then it would say the final mileage when you are finished with it.
Right, it'd be 105, 952.
Exactly.
And we keep track of the beginning shift odometer reading and the beginning shift mileage through the meter now, and the ending shift odometer and mileage through the meter now. And that's why I'm saying the odometer isn't exactly accurate with the meters, because in a 200-mile day on the meter, you might only run 180 miles on the odometer,
But that's
or
important.
215 miles on the odometer.
That's important for tax purposes. Now taxes, I mean, I put every day what the car's done. If it's not used personally, we track that. That's just important
Well, I
for
think-
business practice.
That's why we keep track of it on our trip sheets,
Yeah.
but we don't itemize it down to the individual trips.
And I'm with you, I understand you don't do that, but I would like to have you do that. So the question is, how do we do that realistically? And I think starting and ending odometer reading of every trip takes care of your difference.
That's gonna help you anyway, Joe, because if a guy gets a flag, he's not gonna just say, give me $5 and I'll take you here. That's gonna actually help you out.
Oh,
Question them.
We've actually caught a few people doing that.
Yeah, because
I have ways of catching them.
But it's actually a plus though, because then you have it in front of them, so hey, that's a good thing, for at least for your company.
So 4 would read starting and ending odometer reading, and 5 would read starting and ending time.
No,
Yeah.
no, I got a question for you.
Okay,
I pick up 3 customers at one time,
right,
we all go home to town.
right?
The last guy, he's gonna have 15 hours or 15 minutes or 15 miles.
Well, I think your whole trip starts from when you pick them up to when you drop the last one off.
Yeah, but there's three different customers.
Can I answer that question? What I do on ours, Sam, when I used to work for you, what I did on mine is, I would put down who I picked up first, and then I just throw it on the next section, I just put down how much each first I drop them off. You know what I mean, like, say I pick up at the out.
Beginning and ending mileage ain't gonna be,
Yeah, but say I pick up at the Outlaw, then I think it could just be explained, because the times are gonna be, and just put, make a little spot and put shared cabin. We're keeping these records, and you just question us, or we have to turn these records in.
No, you're keeping.
Yeah. I mean, I think if a customer were to complain, you're gonna remember that occasion.
yeah, but there's many times that we have more multiple people than we have singles.
Right.
I agree.
And I understand that, but I don't see where,
Well, one guy's gonna, from point A, from your house to your house would be, say, 3 miles, and then take Joe home, that's 6 miles. But did Joe start at the bar, or did he start at your house?
you start wherever he got in the car.
Yeah, but then it's gonna show that I had 29 miles and only went 9 miles.
But it doesn't really make a difference for you guys, because we pay, our pay's different. I mean,
But you're gonna say I started at 0 odometer reading and I ended at 26.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're gonna want is you want 3 different shares, Mr. Wood, all starting with the outlaw, and this one here, we drop off at here and here and here, and then you want,
But the mileage ain't gonna add up.
the mileage aren't
But-
gonna add up, you're only
But see,
gonna
but
have
It's not.
beginning mileage here and ending mileage here.
And
But us
for
being
the way
shown-
Sam runs, if he picks up somebody at the Outlaw and they're going out north, and he's got a call at the Crown that they're going further out north,
Or out east,
and
out west.
he picks up at the Crown, and while he's trying to get over to Central, he picks somebody up at the Mayflower
Yeah.
that wants to go to Sun Valley.
Yeah.
Then his run from the Mayflower to the Sun Valley is going to include the mileage
Sure up
of
north.
going way up north twice
Right,
for different runs.
it is.
Which means that keeping track of it is going to be pointless.
Location and time of each passenger pickup and drop off. You've already got to log that.
I'm just on the mileage per run issue. That's the only thing I think
I
everybody
don't
logs.
think it's gonna affect you, because, I mean, you
It-
pick up one
In,
customer.
in some instances, it will.
Yeah.
Because if we picked up somebody in Buffalo Ridge and took them downtown, and we get another call downtown, took them to the Crown, and we get another call at the Crown, and the guy says, well, I'm going to Osage. And our guy from Buffalo Ridge comes out and says, oh, can I share the cab? If it's, first and foremost, it has to be okay with the person that called the cab. If they agree to share, then we will go back, if it's a different driver, they will go back through the dispatch logs and find out how much that fare originally cost Buffalo Ridge to the Crown. And he'll be put on a flat rate, no meter, just a flat rate. The person running north gets metered, because we don't know how much that's going to be. And then the other guy gets trucked across town on the flat rate.
But I think what he's saying, though, we don't have to make this thing long drawn out. I think what he's saying is, if a customer calls and says, hey, I think the TI shuttle charged me $80 to go from here to here, you know, I can look back at my log and I can track from here to here. If I have multiple stops and I do record the other person, which benefits me, I got the other guy as a witness. No, I did not do that. So I think the way it's written, that particular issue is beneficial.
Yeah.
We had an issue just not too long ago that was very beneficial. I mean,
And the odometer reading
It's
is
important.
very explainable by location and time of passenger pickup. Because if you're logging down, picked up one at Outlaw, and then you picked up one at wherever on the way to drop off number one, you've got to log picked up second passenger at wherever. Dropped off first passenger at home, dropped off second passenger at home. You're already logging, you're dropping these people off and where they're picking them up. You can match the odometer to that very simply. This is the route here, and then I had to come back here. As opposed to, okay, you started here, you picked up your second guy here, your first drop-off was here, and your second drop-off was there. This route is still a known fact. If you had to come back later and say, no, that was my $7 route or whatever, you charge. You're still logging, I picked up second passenger, or third passenger, or fourth passenger, and where you're dropping them off. And then once everybody's out of the cab, mileage is done. You follow?
But if you add up the mileage on everybody, you're gonna come up with more miles.
And the way I look at it is you're also dividing them out by two, because you've got two passengers, and that would make more sense anyway. You've got two drop-offs and two pickups. So I'm not telling you how you're doing your business anyway, I'm just saying, in my mind, I see how you very clearly show this is why you had so many miles. Because you had so many pickups and drops.
And so for your aspect, the reason for the logs are principle.
And to make sure people don't get ripped off. So somebody doesn't come in here and drive them 2 miles and say, you owe me $75. And they say, the dishonest cab driver says, no, I drove them 75 miles. They say, no, it's 2. This is protection aid for the passenger and for you guys, so they can't come in and say, you charged me $75 for 2 miles, and you say, nonsense, we went here, and here, it was 90 miles.
How many of those cases like that you already have?
Oh, we get complaints every now and again, I don't think we get a lot.
I guess, I'm sure.
I've heard it a lot.
What I'm saying is that you get a lot of paperwork for no more complaints. How long you been have cab companies in this town?
Longer than I've been here, probably.
Yeah. And-
But we have a lot of new things.
I've actually heard that exact complaint on other companies from passengers better than 25 times in the last 3 years. So,
Yeah, but
I
they
don't,
don't ride with that other company no more either. You do it to me once, I ain't gonna ride with you twice.
Exactly.
Now you get
but
the
I see
rules
where,
and regulations
I see where the
for
chief's
city
saying it gives him the opportunity to check it out and enforce it.
I
My
agree
only
with you.
complaint is the excess paperwork. Everything else makes perfectly sense to me, and I'll acquiesce
It
that.
saves your own tail though, if something happens, we just went through.
Our dispatch logs, the time on those have saved our keister quite a few times.
So,
And luckily, in those situations, our drivers were very busy at the time, so there was a dropped off, dispatch, same times. So the times laid it out.
Studying any government, studying any plan, what's next?
Under passenger payment, it's just, they've got it in the wrong section here. They should have it, it shall be unlawful for any person to provide public transportation, ... They should have that in unlawful acts, or, I don't even think we have them, but that's out of Jackson's ordinance. I kinda wish I wish they'd have read Jackson's ordinance first. Would've saved them some time, 'cause they did a really good one.
I don't like Jackson's ordinance,
I do.
not one bit.
What don't you like about passenger payment?
Well, just the bottom part where it says it should be unlawful for a person to provide public transportation services without the license and stuff, that should be under a different section instead of passenger payment. It doesn't relate.
You just don't like the placement.
Yeah,
not
that's
the
it.
word.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, it's just, it doesn't seem like it's in the right place.
Actually, the way I would have written it is payment A and B. Unlawful, a person who refused to pay and unlawful to run it without a license.
Well, yeah, if you, change the title instead, so that it encompasses it. It's just kinda like a grammatical thing.
I would forward that to the attorney.
Oh, and, you've got section 57210, violations and penalties. Any violation of section 5.72.105, that section doesn't exist.
Right above it,
No.
572-105.
It's not on mine.
Yes, his is different.
How's your section 105 read?
We need a copy of his.
My 105 is the passenger payment.
Okay, but that's 100 on
That's
mine.
your 100? All right, well, they've changed that, obviously.
And it shouldn't read 572.105, it should be any violation of the entire section. Because it's not, it should be, any violation of the entire ordinance 5.72.
And I'll explain it, whether it makes any difference or not. There's a ultimate charging ordinance in city ordinance, it's like 124, 110, or something like that. And it says, any violation of any ordinance is
I've read
listed
that.
in the book.
I've read that, yes.
Violation.
Okay,
So that's
so it's
where
falling
everything
back on
else
that.
comes from.
Okay.
But, I mean, I don't have any issue with changing that, but that would be, there could be a reason the attorney wanted it specifically this way. I don't know.
Yeah, and what caught my eye was just that we didn't have 105 that it was referring to on ours. I don't know.
I thought I gave you guys the latest draft, 'cause I did an email form, but maybe somebody else caught that and...
I don't know, whoever did your mailings, I don't know, I got
yours.
I got yours.
I got yellow cab.
We just went off the clerk's...
Well, it was addressed, our name was wrong on the envelope, but the letter, the cover letter inside the envelope didn't match the envelope.
Yes, that's his.
Oh, really?
But I mean, we knew about the meeting, but, I mean, it happened.
That mail
Oh,
merge doesn't work too well.
and that reminds me, there's a serious comma splice situation in here, grammatical thing, and it may or may not change the meanings. Down, page, let me go back, because your pages are different. Under 572.080D, it goes into these bullet points.
What page 7?
That's back
It's 8 for me. It's right here, bullet points, 1 through, they should have, those are each sentences, they should have periods at the end of them instead of commas.
Yeah.
Just a grammatic thing.
You don't miss nothing, brother.
Hey, we got 5 right though. 5's got a period.
Does it?
Yeah.
No, not on here.
No?
They fixed one of them.
But this is just a draft of it,
Yeah.
and the final.
Yeah, well, that's,
But that's still smart to
I'm
catch.
sure
I never noticed that.
I figure some lawyer that's making changes to this might not be looking at that.
Unless it's a lawyerly thing where you have to write it that way.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, so we got commas figured out.
And I still have issue with the employee, self-employed rental car
Right.
agreement.
And Joe,
Because-
like I said, we're not going to decide that today, because that's going to be
Okay,
whether
but
the attorney...
when you go
thinks
back
what
to
you
your
thought.
attorney, in definitions, it's any vehicle that is rented or any vehicle that is rented for a period of 31 days or less is considered a rental vehicle. Anybody who rents a vehicle for a period of 31 days or less is considered a rental vehicle agency, or a vehicle rental agency. And in order to be a vehicle rental agency, you have to have a license for it. And under enforcement, anybody who operates a rental vehicle agency or rents vehicles without the certificate is in violation of a misdemeanor. It's a misdemeanor up to $750 or 6 months in jail or both. And each rental vehicle transaction occurring while in violations of the provisions of this chapter constitutes a separate offense. That means if a company rents a vehicle by the day or by the shift or by anything less than a full month paid for up front, 31 days, and they don't have this,
I understand what you're saying, Joe.
then they're automatically
once again,
in violation.
That is your opinion of the statute. I will give it to the city attorney, and see if that's his opinion. And if he is, then we'll change our ordinance to follow state statute.
Okay.
And if he's not, then we'll go forward.
Okay. That also relates to the employment factor.
Right. I
Because you
understand.
have to be an owner-operator.
I get it. All right, so, what did Joe get to? You guys have any besides those?
I guess the only issues that we have is the vehicle inspection.
Okay.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I just like for the city to put a cap to where someone's not going to, in the State of the Union address last night, Obama's talking about giving businesses giving us tax breaks, and now we're getting everything that the running cab company has just increased. We can't pass that cost on to the customers because the customers already have their wits in about what they're paying now. So the licenses that went up for permits, and obviously insurances are going up. And we haven't had any accidents that have been our fault. With all these different stipulations, everybody's going to have to lift their rates.
And it's only gonna hurt the community, which this community is a retirement community of people here.
Yeah.
So most people we deal
I
with are on
understand.
a fixed income and.
But the problem we ran into, why it's in there, is we were having people running cabs with bumpers falling off and all sorts of...
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
And I-
understandable.
Yeah.
So how do I keep that in there so that I know vehicles stay,
I think vehicle inspections are very important.
okay?
I think that they should be done. All the vehicles should be done in the same place. But I think that, I guess, that it should be a set rate where it can't be, $150. It should be like $75 or.
Well, for commercial vehicles, if you run your own shop, they let you inspect your own trucks in your own shop.
Well, I agree. But I was looking at that because we got an automotive shop now.
But
and-
they also do spot checks at ports.
They do spot checks reports, but when you see my bumper fall off, you ought to give me a spot check if you're replacing it.
Yeah, that's really cool. If they, vehicle over 8 passengers, including the driver, is considered a commercial vehicle in the state of Wyoming and is required to have DOT registration numbers or POC numbers or commercial plates, one of the three, required to. You run 15 passenger vans, no DOT numbers, nobody stops you. When you get turned in, nobody stops you. Period. Nobody stops you. You guys have got 9 passenger vans.
I got no 9 passenger van.
That gray one.
That gray van ain't 9 passenger.
big
But listen, we
Okay,
didn't come here to argue.
I'm just saying,
but
there is
point
no enforcement on the streets. That's my biggest problem with this entire ordinance, is there's no enforcement.
You just said that he's got a
He's got a 9-passenger van.
and he's telling me he doesn't.
Okay, and I've seen it on the streets, and my driver that I hired that used to work for him says, yes, that is a 9-passenger van. It's got modular seating.
No. And the other
Where'd it go?
deal, of course,
It's a Chevy Venture.
yeah, and hang on, and hang on, they do enforce the law. I've sat down with Perry Jones, which is one of the big men over there at the State Patrol. I've had a lot of even small, stupid laws that they've pushed. I mean, I've had to change tent, just different things. So don't say they're not forcing the
Okay,
law.
that's the highway patrol that's in. That's not the city police.
I've been
This
told by the
ordinance
city
is going to be
police.
city police.
Okay.
Every one of the Astro vans on the streets right now is an 8-passenger or more, 8 passengers.
No,
8 passengers is a violation if it does not have PUC, DOT, or
Astro
commercial.
van? How do
Yes,
you figure
they're 8 passengers. 2 seats in front, a 3-seat in the middle, and a 3-seat in back.
They're not all built like that, Joe.
you can't.
If they don't have buckets in the center, they do.
That's a 7-passenger
That's
at the
8,
most.
counting the driver, including 8 passengers, including the driver. 3 in the back, 3 in the center, 2 in the front. That's 8 passengers.
Joe, I think your definition of van and what,
That's
why
good.
not?
Okay, listen. If the insurance goes $2 million, there's no big deal. Then you'll be in heaven. Then
31-18-101. This went into effect
about 2 months ago.
July of last year.
They just changed those again.
This went into effect July of last year. This was downloaded off of the Wyoming website day before yesterday. Right there. It's a commercial vehicle that transports 8 or more, including the driver.
If you have 8 passengers
No,
plus the driver.
if the vehicle,
Including the driver.
if the vehicle has capacity for 8 passengers,
Any vehicle transporting 8 or more passengers,
What's the difference between?
which is very much different than having the ability to.
okay, according to YDOT, if it has the seating for 8 passengers, it is required to have PUC or DOT or commercial plates. 8 or more passengers. I have turned in multiple times. I have turned in pictures of 15-passenger vans, and nobody will stop them.
Well, that statute you just showed me says transporting 8 or more. Doesn't say capacity to transport 8 or more, it says transporting 8 or more, including drivers.
Okay, I've got pictures, digital film of different
15
companies.
people in the van.
I have a digital video of one company with a 15-passenger van, and I have digital video of them loading in excess of 9 passengers into that van.
Can I add something real quick too? I think to take care of a lot of this problem too, I think they should put a cap on how many licenses they actually hand out to cab companies, because, I think what Joe's problem is, and I'm not causing any problems. I think that there's too many cab companies for what we need. I mean, you know what I mean? Per cab, like liquor licenses. I mean, there should be a cap. I mean, the reason we have these problems is because you'll get a guy that gets an idea in his mind, I want to be a cab driver
Right
today,
before Frontier
and
Days,
then
when it
you got.
comes to
This is what happens is when this guy here loads up his fleet and pays these big down deposits, and they pay big down deposits, and we do, to beef up our fleet. We don't make any money because, you got the city buses running, transporting people, and then you got all these fly-by-nights that are out there that have commercial insurance, that have proper vehicles. They do it for 3 or 4, they do it for the time of Frontier Days. They rip people off, charging people $30 to go from Frontier Park to the Outlaw, and then they're gone. It leaves a bad taste and I think there should be a cap put on it, and they'll take care of a lot of this. And then he wouldn't be griping so much, because there'd be a lot more customers.
You ain't gonna stop Joe from driving, because he's
Yeah.
not that type of person.
No, I'm
I
not.
agree.
No, I'm not actually. I opened up and I operate my company the way officials in the state and the city told me that I had to be compliant with the law. And I watch you guys running subcontract labor and running 15-passenger vans.
How does that affect
not
you?
15.
Personally, how does that affect your company?
How does it affect my company?
How we
You guys,
operate.
okay, if you don't pay all of your employment taxes, if you don't pay all of your employment...
We're going a little bit beyond what this meeting
Yeah.
is supposed to be. We're supposed to be talking about...
Okay,
the ordinance.
let me back up a little bit. If the other companies are not compliant, then they're saving money on compliance, and they were able to undercut compliant companies.
I understand.
Or, as
One-
Sun Tzu said, if those who break the law are not punished, those that abide by the law are cheated.
One more thing, I take, for him, he may take a fare, $21. I take 3 runs to his. Because you see my cars flying around town, I'm doing this because I care. I have 6 kids at home, my kids didn't have a Christmas. He makes $21 on one fare. I take 3 runs to his. So because he sees me zooming around town, doesn't mean that he's not making it. I pay the same taxes. I've paid the most. You can ask Scott at the tax place. I've paid more in sales tax than any company this last year. So I mean, it's just real frustrating that we have to bounce around. And the big thing is we should come together. We don't have to all have one same business, but we should be together out there instead of being divided and stop pointing the fingers at everybody. If we would all stand here and say, hey, we shouldn't have so many taxi licenses, maybe the man would listen to us instead of sitting here pointing the finger at everybody and saying he's running 20 passenger vans and 10. The point is, the roads are going to be safer. It keeps the drunks off the road. We can't break the law, but, I mean, what is a man supposed to do?
If
I understand you guys, and I understand you have a little frustration with each other. But
No, there's no frustration. It's just teamwork.
Let's stick to what we were doing earlier.
Can they put a cap on how many licenses in this draft? I mean,
I'm not going to propose that. If you want to talk to your council person, that's their bailiwick. I want safe roads. That's the only thing I care about.
that's the problem.
and I want fair competition and safe roads.
I understand that also.
I'm sure it's in the new ordinance, that same statement.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
what's the point?
As a showing of lack of enforcement, if you do go back to August 07.
I have no interest in going back to August.
Okay, I'm just as an
That's why we're moving
example.
forward here.
As an example, go back to August 07, and Workman's Comp Unemployment lists 2 fully compliant companies. Capital City, BC Cab. They list 3. At that time, they listed 3 registered companies. Sam was registered, and they were working with him to get him to compliance as much as I could find out. At the time, there were 7 companies doing business in Cheyenne. TI was one of them. Impressions was one of them.
Yeah, that was...
Okay, it was August of 08 then. I'm sorry, it was August. It was right after you guys opened, so it must have been August of 08. Okay, there was 2 compliant companies, 3 registered companies, and 7 companies in business. It's a violation of state law to operate a business without registering with Workman's Comp Unemployment. Right there, if the city had gone at that time and issued citations, Impressions Yellow Cab had been open for 8 years. Every day a separate violation of city code. Every day they're open without registering with Workman's Comp. And the city attorney at the time said, I'm not going to deal with that.
Yep.
That's
And I'm not gonna deal with it now.
millions of dollars worth of revenue for the city passed up.
Do you honestly think they would have paid millions of dollars in fines?
No, but if
So we didn't really miss any revenue at all.
you probably missed $500,000 worth, $100 per
They got
ticket.
$500,000.
That was a combination of every company that wasn't registered or fully compliant.
Back to the ordinance. Do you guys have any other issues with it?
Um,
Let's talk about insurance. Will you all agree that you think 1 million per claim and 300 per occurrence was too high?
Wait,
That's impossible.
What's the?
it's the wrong kind of insurance.
What was the state statute?
$500,000.
It's the wrong kind of insurance listing too. It should be listed as commercial auto liability insurance. The way it's listed now is for like general contractors, companies that go out and work on people's houses. If they fall through the roof, their insurance covers it. If they fall through the roof and land on a little old lady and squish her into the hospital, their insurance covers it.
Yeah, I understand.
So Joe, which one do you have? Now.
What do you mean?
What's your insurance in for?
Stratford, 500,000, commercial auto liability.
What's yours, Donnie?
Same thing.
You have to have it to get your operating authority.
They got $1 million. They're saying.
I tried to get $1 million and three different,
1,300,000 or 300?
For
3
au-
million and 300.
for auto liability.
For auto liability,
Who's your carrier?
Stratford.
They're all with Stratford.
No.
Everybody gets with
There's
Stratford.
only three tax cab companies in the United States that will allow you to write the tax cab company. And Stratford is one of them, and the other one is,
And I was told by Stratford that they didn't offer $1 million coverage.
Stratford does it now. You have to go through a different, they don't offer them. You're right. I just checked into that. It's a different.
When I first opened, I wanted more insurance coverage than
It's
was the
expensive.
minimum, and
It's
they told me
expensive.
that the most they could give me a quote on was $500,000
For our fleet would be like $50-something thousand a year.
So what's the 500 and what's the
per current. That's $500,000 per current,
500 per,
or per
Per claim?
per claim.
okay.
500,000
Well,
per.
my insurance agent said per claim and per occurrence are the same thing.
No.
I'll have the risk manager do that.
But the state requires 500,000. Jackson requires 500,000. Casper requires 500,000.
The only reason I
I'll
want
let
the-
the risk manager is the one who usually determines how much insurance.
Laramie's kind of goofy. Laramie only requires 25,000.
The only reason I want the
state
insurance
requires
higher is because of
500,000.
fly-by-nights. I mean, if we can't take care of that, I mean, Loveland, if you're gonna pay $1 million for insurance, that's what Loveland, Colorado's charging that. And not Denver's 1.5. But, I mean, if you're gonna pay that kind of money, you know, I look at it as like, you're doing a customer service. If you're gonna pay that, you might as well move your company where there's more people, you know, I mean, and you can create, you could, I don't know what each person here is doing, but I'm not getting rich
We're not
doing this.
making a lot of money.
I mean-
We had no profit last
I made $1,200.
I made
Last year.
negative
year.
900
Run out a lot of money in
And this year, yeah,
Well,
so.
that's why I don't want to jump your insurance up by 25%.
Actually,
It's gonna be really hard
personally,
for
I
us to
made
make it.
$1,200 for the year. The company actually lost money for the year.
I'm just posting online what I made, so it's
All right,
accurate.
so other than that, and you had tell me how to do the inspections, because
I like the inspections.
I do too.
I think
I'm not getting
inspections-
rid of inspections.
I really like the
But
inspections.
how do you,
I actually think the inspection should be
Like
biannual.
commercial trucks, if you have your own shop and run your own shop and inspect your own vehicle, they come in and audit you, they pick
But-
it up and get a fine.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna slander nobody, but there's one particular company, their vehicles, I can't believe they're even on the same road.
Oh, yeah.
No,
And
no,
I think we all know who
I
we're
think
talking about
inspections-
there.
I think inspections are important.
Very.
I just don't wanna get slammed on a price, you know what I mean? I don't want to pay, you know, $150 to get a 21-point inspection.
We're putting out a lot of money to provide a community service.
what is you go to a T&T or something.
$65.
And I think it should be done by the city.
I agree.
We don't have
The manpower.
how to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not-
I don't wanna-
out there.
No,
I don't want to
no,
pay
I know.
city
No,
wages
What if
for
there
it.
was
I'd rather pay
a-
$65.
If you seen a car that you thought was not the raggedy, what if you did it on an individual basis instead of saying, you know, say you see our cars and they're just tore up and so you go, and, you know, our cars are very nice and
Then you're laying it on the individual patrol officers to decide whether or not a car needs to be inspected, and I don't think that's fair to the patrol officers
Then I think
or
that
to the duties that they're supposed to provide
I think we
or
should pick
accomplish.
a shop, you know, I don't think it should be a shop.
I think
When
there
get
should
in
be a
my car,
list.
They're my buddies, you know what I mean? So they're not gonna tell you anything bad about me, you know?
Well, it's, that's taken care,
Huh?
If you run a good shop, they will.
they will.
I
And
know,
that's taken care of in here anyway, because it says that the shop can't, the owners of the shop can't have any social ties to the company
But
owner.
that should be a designated spot, and you should talk to somebody what they're gonna
Yeah,
charge.
but if you could go to, T&T $65, and you can go to D's, just throwing out a name, and they'll say, no, I'll do it for 50. I don't wanna limit you, once again, I don't want you to have to pay more, because I have that problem with tow
Does it-
companies, and they
Yeah.
drive me nuts.
Yeah, 'cause I got my own shop, I got my own lift, I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me, I just don't wanna pay an arm and a leg, you know?
Speaking of tow companies,
No,
something
I
that's
don't wanna
not,
go
something
into
that's
tow.
not in here that is in the towing,
They call that.
well, in order to be on the police call list, tow companies are required to maintain a certificate of compliance with workman's comp unemployment. In Jackson Hole, public ground transportation companies are required to maintain full compliance, maintain a letter of full compliance with workman's comp unemployment. I think that should be in this ordinance, that any cab company should be required to maintain with the city clerk a certificate of full compliance with workman's comp unemployment.
It doesn't make a difference to me, 'cause I just give them a check for a couple of $1,000, so it's irrelevant to me.
I just did the same thing. Hurt.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
Every quarter, I don't think we should have to pay that, because federal law is different than state law. But, and if a guy gets into an accident in a vehicle, the insurance company pays for it, workman's comp doesn't.
if he twists his back loading luggage into the vehicle, the insurance won't cover it, workman's comp will.
Yeah.
Workman's comp, so they don't sue you, the owner.
Yeah. I just,
We
But,
just pay it. We don't agree with it, we just pay it.
but you
I'm
know,
not happy about having to pay it, but I have to pay it, so I pay it, so everybody else should have to pay it, right? You guys have to pay it?
I pay it.
Everybody should have to pay it.
Together though, and stood together, you would make more profit because everything would get sent to them.
Because
So
in any
your
other
profit
big
is-
state, in any other, like Denver, Nebraska,
They're also,
Omaha,
they're also.
But
protested.
the thing is, we can't just ignore the laws, we have to
I'm
work to
not-
No,
change the laws.
we need to come together as owners though, so that we.
And that needs to be on a statewide level too, as far as workman's comp
Yeah, I'm not-
unemployment goes.
I-
It's the same as the sales tax issue, we shouldn't have,
Yeah, I don't think that's important.
We don't enforce work,
I mean.
okay, but like with the,
state workers.
but with the towing companies and the way Jackson did it, we should, the company should be required to maintain a certificate of full compliance with it.
I'm not worried about it, Joe. Once again, that's
Well-
between you owners and quite frankly, the state. That has nothing to do with making sure you're running a safe shop. Safe shop is the idea behind our ordinance. Complying with state statute in regards to workers' comp, between you and workers' comp.
But it says right in here that we have to abide by state and federal law.
I'm sure it does. Pretty much, you have to abide by state and federal law. That doesn't mean I monitor whether you're in compliance with federal standard
It's
4212.
not- his job.
Then why do tow truck companies have to have it?
I don't know what they do, Joe.
They do. It's in the ordinance for tow trucks. They have to, in order to be on the police call list, they have to have a certificate of full compliance with workman's comp unemployment.
You know, I pay workman's comp unemployment. I don't know if they do or the other company do. To me, it's irrelevant. What's gonna happen is one time he's gonna get into an accident, they're gonna wind up suing him, thing. I mean, if you're cheating, eventually you will get caught. Eventually you will get caught. That's why I don't worry about the other cab companies, man. I just drive. I don't worry about it. I worry about this, because I'm not gonna pay a whole bunch of money. But I don't worry about anybody else, Joe. I mean, eventually,
I worry about unfair competition, Ivory.
But Joe, if you feel that they're not paying workers' comp and they're required to,
co-workers.
I don't investigate.
Yeah.
So putting it in here that you have to have that in there doesn't matter to me because I don't investigate workers' comp claims.
Okay.
The state investigates workers' comp claims.
You see what he said? Yes,
Okay.
There's nothing to
That's
do
like
with
me
why we're
investigating Fair Labor Standard Act. That's not me, that's Fed.
Yeah.
If you,
And he's not OSHA.
thank God.
I already had a meeting with him, Joe. I've been paying him for the last 5 or 6 quarters, but yeah.
So I understand you want fair competition, but I don't provide fair wage competition. That's not my place.
Okay. It says we have to abide by state and federal law, There's a Supreme Court case saying that drivers cannot be subcontract labor. From 1985. You can have that, actually. I have another copy of it. You can have that whole copy.
So that's what you're referring to here, right?
So you're saying the other cab companies aren't paying workman's comp on employment?
I'm saying they can't run a subcontract, their drivers as subcontract labor. That right there says it. This right here, they have to abide by state and federal law. The ordinance in place now.
How do you pay your drivers?
As employees.
You pay them by the mile?
I pay
30 cents a mile?
No, I pay like a truck driver on the paid mile equivalent.
Yeah, I got three
Yeah,
drivers.
by the mile.
I mean, you're calling the kettle black, but
I follow all the laws, man. I follow all the laws. Where it says,
I got
and the
previous
current,
employees
and
that
the,
work for me.
and I've got your previous employees working for me.
one.
It says you have to abide by state and federal law. The current ordinance says you have to abide by state and federal law. These guys are renting their vehicles. In the definitions, Title 19, it says it's not legal to rent the vehicles unless you have.
Joe,
period.
I know that's your point.
I know.
that you believe that, and we've gone over
And
that
and
three
it goes
times,
into
that I will-
enforcement right there, and it says
And if
any.
the city attorney says that's not applicable, then you're wrong and we don't enforce it. And I'm not worried right now about, I'm not gonna give you the legal decision. I can't be more clear than that. That's an attorney's job, and I've told you I'm gonna forward this to them and say,
Okay.
does this follow state statute as you read it? Not as Joe reads it, as you read it. I mean, that's all I can do.
Okay. Even though it says every peace officer of any county or municipality is charged with enforcing this act.
Yes, not this act as Joe reads it, this act as it reads.
Yeah, as it reads.
And you're interpreting it one way, and I bet I could find Ivory interpreting it a different way, and these folks are gonna interpret it a third way.
They told me as long as I have to work with couple unemployment, and you guys make money, there's no problem with me. That's what they-
So, I will
that's what they-
forward all that to the city attorney. If he finds that, yes, indeed, they can't do that, then I will pay them a visit and say, you can't do that.
And then I'll proudly leave. And there'll be 14 guys clicking on 15 clicking on
What I'm
unemployment.
guessing is if I read this, I'm gonna find a dissension in there somewhere, because there always is somebody who dissents. So if 4 or 5 Supreme Court judges can't decide on something, try to get 105 cops. It's just not gonna happen that way.
That one's on the subcontract labor, not on the rental vehicles. This one's on rental vehicles. They just now admitted that they rent on a daily basis, and the law says, right, not the way I read it, but the way it is written, it says that if you rent a vehicle for less than 31 days, it is a violation.
I understand.
Any
For less than
vehicle.
30, for less than 31 days?
Yep.
I don't have not one new guy. Everybody's going to be long as they're beside Hank.
You said at the beginning of the meeting that you charge by the shift.
Yeah.
You lease by the shift. That means that it's a one-day lease.
I think that's how everybody should do it, it just makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are still, you're blind if you just send them out there, here,
How do you-
if I
how do
give you
you
20,
regulate?
if I give you $20 and you're by yourself, are you gonna just rob from me? I mean, you can't clutch every Joe, you can't have 14 guys you can keep track of. If that's the case, there will be no cab company, because everybody will be broke. So,
And
Well,
I
they'd be ripping the
understand, Joe, that you
community
look
out.
at the
Joe doesn't pay-
definition of the rental vehicle. I understand that.
and Joe doesn't
Once
pay his
again,
guys like that.
I would say, I will talk to the city attorney and see if he believes he's a rental vehicle.
Because if that's the case, one more thing, is it makes you, the city attorney looks into how many hours the driver actually works, because if that's the case, then everybody's not compliant, because if a driver's out there for 12 hours, like he's saying, a
And
driver's out there for
making
12 hours,
$6.
you must make at least minimum wage, which is gonna be $7.85. Are you paying your drivers at least $7.85? Well, I'm trying to explain
Paying my
to you-
drivers on commission.
Okay, and that's exactly
How
what we
about
do.
that subcontract?
And if, in order to,
See, he doesn't
it's
know
not
what happens
subcontract,
in
it's
my
commission,
company.
there's a
You know what I
difference.
mean?
And I'm not worried whether
Yeah.
Joe thinks you're running
Yeah.
right or you think they're running right or anything.
Yep.
You guys are gonna fight probably till the end of time,
Don't
you
knock
might
me.
get.
Not us.
But I will get a briefing, or I will get an opinion from the city attorney for you, Joe, and then we'll go forward.
Okay? Because, you know,
It's never ending,
Yeah,
that's
I'm-
weird.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
Listen here, what's this here, you gotta have a special color scheme, you only have all your vehicles one color?
Yes, no, not necessarily one color. Let's say.
Just the same color.
Cab has, they always have checkers.
White with black stripe,
Right.
black lettering and checkerboard stripes.
But if you said your cars all have checkers, just using that as an example, that's a color scheme in my mind. You don't have to have all white, you don't have to have all yellow, you don't have to have all green, but it
The
has to be
logos
very
can't-
readily identified as this is your cab.
Oh, okay, I might have misunderstood that. Where is that again?
Page, whatever.
Okay, it says, each
Eight.
licensee providing public transportation services commonly known as taxi cab services must paint each motor vehicle being operated as a taxi cab with the licensee's distinctive color scheme and markings, including the licensee's business name, logo, and telephone number. I have no problem with the business name, logo, and telephone number.
You shouldn't have to.
What idea is, what is the idea of painting each motor vehicle with a color scheme?
Big cities do it.
Markings,
We're not
well,
doing
not
Big
only
cities do it.
You can move to Denver, you can do it.
Thank you.
I'm all for that. I am all for that.
Fighting for nothing. This is silly.
What is your idea of a color scheme?
My idea of a color scheme
Or
is,
what is this idea of a color
well,
scheme?
you're readily identified as this color.
It's gonna hurt people like Earl over at Impressions a lot worse than anybody else in town, because he goes out there and rents rental cars to run his cabs. And he doesn't put any markings on them. Right now, in the last 2 weeks, he's been seen in an Acura rental car and in a Cadillac STS rental car.
What's gonna happen?
no
One day
markings.
he's gonna get into an accident, man.
He's been in accidents, man.
Well, what I
He
would
got
say
in an
is
accident at
tell me
22nd
you
and
have to have,
Van Lennon,
in my mind,
and he lied about it and got away with it.
logo on each side here.
We'd have that,
Well, then you would
Yeah, on the
have,
window.
in my opinion, you've got a color scheme. You're readily identified as Cowboy Shell.
yeah, okay.
That's what I'm.
All the cars don't have to be red or white or blue or green.
That's
I understand how you can
that's
interpret
the way it's
that.
written, yeah. The same way they interpreted it, the way it's written, it says they have to be
Let's-
painted.
How about,
And I'm all for that. You know, Yellow Cab in Denver is all yellow. Metro Cab is
They
all
can afford to do that because
purple, I think.
they're big companies, they have big money, there's not big money in Cheyenne. We're doing this to survive.
and let me think about the wording so you understand. Because the idea behind it is you're readily identified as a company.
That you have a standard logo that is permanently affixed to the vehicle.
And it's not like anyone else.
Okay?
Right, so they can't come in, if your color
I-
screams checkers,
I'm white. Every vehicle I have or have ever had has been white with black lettering.
don't follow me because I'm making a different point.
Okay.
If you've got all your stuff yellow with, or white with black checkering, they can't come in and throw checkering all over their yellow car, because you've
Okay.
got that color scheme.
Okay?
Because that's the idea is, they don't have, and I'm just pointing,
Well,
you're
that's
right across the table from me.
You got checkers on your car, you can have your checkers on your
Right.
car, he can't, and I can't.
Right, that's exactly the point, and
I
they,
have
they,
my
just
Cowboy
so,
sign
Ivory
on
doesn't
it.
put
You can't have a Cowboy
checkers
sign.
all over his cars, and he does something bad, using an example, they don't think they're taking better checkers.
Okay, Ivory's got white cars with black lettering, and on multiple occasions I have had people get in and say, I thought I was in a TI, and on multiple occasions on multiple occasions I have had we have called customers and they said, well, I'm in one of your cabs. Well, no, you're not. What cab is this? It's a TI.
Okay?
Over the phone, okay? Because they're running white Crown Vics, they're with black lettering in the same placement as our lettering.
And we're integrating into red, so, you know, I'm not gonna go out and change all my vinyl on all my cars, but I will tell you, my cars are being distinctively turned,
It says big
you know,
on-site
red. And
TI.
there's a big
It
TI on
says
there.
big
They can't see it.
TI emblem on the back of
Yeah,
it.
if they can't see it, then they.
That
they-
TI emblem, I've had a lot of people tell me you guys look like cop cars, and you do, at a distance,
So I will.
2 or
I
3
will
blocks,
try to
you
clean
can't
that
tell a
for
cop
you.
car from you because of the way the emblem is and the placement on your lettering. That's humorous. That's just, I think it's humorous. That's why it was directed at you, not at him.
Well, that's good. I mean, they might think there's more cops on the road. That's good. Non-con.
You guys have anything else?
No.
Well, we'll go forward, I'll talk to the attorney about some of these stuff, talk to risk manager about the insurance.
And you won't cut back on the licenses at all? You gotta leave it open?
I'm not gonna do that. If you get, if you wanna do that, if you feel it's necessary, talk to city council folks, because they might. I'm not telling you they're not going to.
And when they do that, they're gonna tell you you can have 5 cars, or 3 cars, or 10 cars.
That,
Like Denver, you
It's
have
supposed
to have,
to be,
this
it's supposed to be
has
a free
ability
country, you
to
can
have
do what you do, as
300.
long as you do it within the law.
I agree with Sam. I agree with Sam. Let anybody that runs compliant come in and run.
There's so many loopholes
But
in the law, if you find something.
if they limit the number, of licenses, technically a subcontractor has to be promoting himself as his own business. Therefore, you have to be a licensee, not a permittee.
Okay.
And that would get rid of the subcontractors.
Thanks, come by.
Thanks. How would a person go about filing formal complaints about violations of these laws?
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, come by. Joe, I'm gonna see what the city attorney thinks. If he thinks it's a violation of the law, then we'll go out and work with it.
Okay.
If he doesn't read it the way you do, I'm not going to.
Okay.
Okay? People
Okay.
interpret laws very differently, and especially when they have a little money in the game. So,
I just go by what I've been told by people at the state level,
I understand.
and the way it's written right in the laws.
Okay.
So,
I will get the city attorney to look at it, and
When,
when he tells me it's legal or illegal, then we'll work from there.
I had an opportunity to get a really good deal on an 8-passenger Astro van, and I talked to Rayetta Reese out at the DOT, the lady in charge of Letters of Operating Authority, and she gave me the new statute that was enacted the last session, 2009 session. It went into effect July of 2009, that says 8 passengers and above fall under the jurisdiction. They are considered a commercial vehicle.
Okay?
And that's why we're not running commercial vehicles, because at the time, that would have had to make us do hours of service, which we're going to have to do now anyway, but it would also require DOT registration or commercial plates. And we didn't want to go there. But everybody else is going there, and nobody stops them. I called the police dispatcher about a 15-passenger van, okay? That's way over and beyond. It's even beyond what is classified as a bus. 15-passenger van, no commercial plates.
But Joe,
I got
the
told
statute you showed me
the only
was-
reason you're interested is because they're competition. Not because they're, if I was only interested because they're my competition, I would have gone to work for one of the people that wasn't compliant. The reason I opened was because I could not go to work for a company in Cheyenne that was fully compliant, because there were none.
And that's what we're trying to fix.
Okay.
That's why we've got 10 new pages of ordinance.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
let's work towards
I
compliance.
appreciate your
with
effort,
everybody.
appreciate
You
your time, and look forward to the next time we get to do this and go over the next draft.
bet. We'll do it.
All right.
All right.
I can see it, you know, commercial trucks.
So warm in here, I didn't even realize. Can you let me back upstairs? I left my coat at that meeting with the chief. So nice and warm. Didn't even think about it till I walked outside and got hit in the face by a breath of cold air. Took hitting the air outside to realize I came in with a coat.
All right. give me that form, and then we'll look back. I'll make a note of that, and probably take it to the owner operator.
Thanks.
I'll get one there as soon as I can. Thank you, bye.
Are you backed up?
Yeah.
Let's call Al. What time is it?
2:45.
Okay, let's call Al and have
Well,
him work
Dirk
3 to 3.
Dirk is about to clear. He should be about to clear. Being a jerk, so I don't know for sure. I hung up on him.
What?
Really? Yes. Really crabbing it in. So am I. And these two just now came in, so it's not like we're really backed up. Here, you can deal with driving. I've had it with all of them. Shannon's had 2 major overruns. $9.90 and $3.
What's Al's phone number?
I have a really bad headache and I don't need drivers yelling at me. I yell back and then I slam the phone down and then they don't call me and tell me to pick up. How'd your meeting go? It's very short.
Borderline waste of time.
Oh no.
Is this his 4591? 622. No, I wouldn't have called him at 622. Called him in the afternoon. Called him at 128.
Time after all that work?
I got it. They don't want to talk. He didn't want to talk about current violations. When I pointed stuff out about the rental vehicle stuff, his response was, "Do you have a law degree?" Oh, I forgot to end the recording. Hi, Al, this is Joe. Not too much. Would you like to come in a little early? Work maybe a 3 to 3, or is that possible for you? Okay, come on in. We got a car waiting and runs on the board. Thanks. Bye.
He asked you, and do you have this on tape?
Yeah. In fact, I have it. This is Joe Elkins. I'm back in my office. The meeting has concluded. Meeting ended about 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. It is 2:49 p.m. now.
Don't see all that stuff I said about my husband is on your tape.
Yes, it is.